Turkey. There is nothing else there. However, there are other evidences that brings us closer to the validity of such reasoning. In the year 1959, a Turkish pilot was commissioned to take some aerial photograph for the Geolithic Institute of Turkey. When mission was completed, among his photographs, one attracted the attention. This photograph was more like a boat rather than anything else. A large boat which had stranded on the slopes of a hill 20 kilometers from the Ararat Mountains. Further, researchers indicated that the length of the boat-like objects was more than what had been expected before. By conducting precise measurements, they found out that the length of these giant objects was larger than a football ground, and its size was as big as a warship that had been completely buried under the ground. However, the discovered ship was buried under bulky layers of mud and was hardly visible except from the top. They noticed that to move the object and bring it out of the ground was an impossible task due to its side dimensions, and that only by a trembling of earth it could be taken out of the ground for subsequent explorations. Not a long time had passed from this event that an earthquake occurred in that area and pulled out mysteriously the ship from the heart of the ground. As a result of this incident, the signs of this object were exposed for 6 meters and became noticeable. Following the earthquake, the research team claimed that the object could be remains of Noah's Ark. Then pessimism gave way to optimism, and this question was raised that if this giant boat-like object, which is about football ground long and is located at 1800 heights of the Ararat Mountains, is not the Noah's Ark, what else could it be? Such words were not about a small boat with a capacity of 8 passengers and a number of animals, but it was rather about a complicated technology which required expertise in melting metals, advanced equipment, and skilled manpower. With regard to the fact that friends of the Noah the messenger were few in number, this question comes in mind that how Noah had made the ark. Had Noah himself managed to build such a giant ship which resembled a warship, was as large as a football ground and weighed some 32,000 tons, is building a ship with the capacity of 494 double-deckers barehanded and with the equipments which were available at that time conforms to our assumptions? Tests carried out by the scientists reaffirmed that pieces of iron had been used at specific and regular distances in building the ship. By discovering thin iron layers, archaeologists sketched a pattern and marked some signs on a ship in a form of stripes, yellow and pink in color. They also found solid iron nuts and joints which had been used in 5,400 points of the ship. They remarked that such a vast use of metals in building the ship is beyond imagination. An analytical study conducted over some parts of the ship indicated that alloys of aluminium, titanium, and some other metals have been used in a ship. However, it was previously assumed that neither iron nor aluminium had not been discovered or explored at the time of Prophet Noah. This point leads us toward verses of the Holy Quran which instructs Noah to build the ark under our supervision. Over the heights adjacent to the place where the ark was discovered, archaeologists have discovered a number of large stone objects on top of which there had been made a big hole. These triangle, stone and semi-burnished objects resemble ancient anchors of the ship which were called drive. They were in fact tools which were used to the heavy weight of the ship and at the time of anchorage would be thrown into the water. How and through what source we do not know the answer exactly, but there are some presumptions in this regard. The discovery of 6 weights or anchors with a hole on the top reaffirmed what archaeologists had suggested in this regard. Those objects had been thrown into the water on different distances at the time of anchorage. Therefore, with regard to the position of sailing and direction of the blowing wind, which is west to east in Turkey, the ship had sailed on the water and had been stopped over the heights of the Ararat mountain. Here, I would like to return once again to the Old Testament and say that what is narrated in the Old Testament about the flood which has annihilated all human beings on earth together with animals, birds, grazing animals, and insects is a method practiced by synagogue. Because in the Old Testament and after the Noah's flood which left no living creature alive, a Noah is being introduced who, after dismounting the ship, is a Jew. You see, upon dismounting from the ship, he started working for Judah, and the Old Testament does not say for the Almighty God, because in that book the God is Judah. He started building a temple and sacrificing for Judah, which exclusively belongs to the Jews. He put sweat over the fire so that its smells would go out to the skies. But the Jews, in contrast with Quran, claims that from Noah to Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac, all are Jews, while the Holy Quran explicitly says that these are mere fabrications and Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, and Ismail were neither Jews nor Christians. But the history that the Jews have complied through a rational and reasonable approach intends to inject the idea that the entire world were Jews. Because there is no trace of those who were living before Noah. After Noah, whoever had come was a Jew. Abraham was a Jew. Moses was a Jew. And in the case of Jesus, they say he was a Jew. Even Christians admit that he was a Jew. In the case of the messenger of Islam, they do not believe that he was a messenger. You see, they say such a messenger was not expected to come and name him a lawyer, a poet, etc. Therefore, under what had been said in the Old Testament, which are apparently seem to be harmless but are frequently new tricks, as these are the new versions that are available today, there rests a very wrong Jewish concept which tries to inject the idea that if Judah, his thoughts, and his messengers did not exist, man would have remained misled. Therefore, it was the Jews who laid the foundation for prophecy in the world, because Noah is a Jew, Abraham is a Jew, Moses is a Jew, and Jesus is a Jew. We had no other messenger, and these are the ones who were possessors of determination. You see, what we try to say is that issues should not be observed simply in a childish manner at school level. We should find our way into the core of the issues and see whether when they say all had died, do they really had no intelligence to recognize that all human beings on earth could not have died due to a flood? In fact, they had the intelligence but tried to express something neither explicitly nor inexplicitly. Those who are to understand would get their point that the Jews, with the help of Jewish messengers after Noah, with no other person present on a scene, had rendered great effort for the guidance of human beings.